Big data and AI, in conjunction with innovation versus operational excellence. What does it mean? Where are the dilemmas? Where are the opportunities? You got it? Looking forward. So welcome back to another episode of Tech TV, and I'm looking forward because I got not only a great number of tech leaders on the bench, so to speak, but this is one of the topic of heart, so to speak. So we got digital growth versus resilience. We got the discussion about innovation versus operational excellence, and then suddenly we got not only big data but massive AI. So are we gonna have chaos, or do we really gonna use this to help the business outcome of our organizations? We need to discuss it with, as I already earlier explained, a great bunch of tech leaders in this episode. So let me introduce them to you. I've got Hema from Cognizant. Welcome. I got Leo from the Rabobank. Welcome. I got good old Corey, and we're going to announce where you will start, so to speak, later on. So that's the cliffhanger already, ladies and gentlemen. And I've got my dear friend, Professor Erik Beulen, and he is not only from University of Manchester, but also heading up the Digital Knowledge Institute in the Netherlands. Welcome here.
Thank you.
Let us start with that famous 30 seconds of mindset regarding this topic, right? So if I may ask you, Hema, so what is your mindset regarding this topic? So we got data-driven versus maybe or not the opportunity or dilemma, innovation versus operational excellence.
Right, I think, at least for me, maybe I think data-driven is something which was maybe the past. I think now it is maybe more of, pervasive data to enable businesses. And I think then going a step ahead, I'm really passionate about the promise of, agentic AI and what it can bring in this area. So I think these are the two things which I'm really interested about and discussing with this team over here.
Right. So you've seen, of course, a lot of changes. You a rather seasoned guy in data and analytics, so to speak, HPE, IBM, Cognizant. Is this a new area in your mind?
So I think this is a depends kind of question or a maybe, but I think it's both. I think there is a bit of the same old, but at the same time there is a lot of new in terms of what we could not do in the past with the state of technology versus what the promise which the new technology innovations such as agentic AI, blockchain, quantum computing, all of that together is bringing in. So I'm really excited with a lot of things which were not possible or what we could not do in the past, what these technologies together will enable us to do in the future.
Right. All right, great, thanks. Leo, it's good to have you, thanks.
Thank you.
Also seasoned, especially in the financial industry. Fortis, ING, Rabobank now, also responsible for the Data Foundation.
Yeah.
What's your mindset regarding this topic?
Well, great. This is a great topic here, and thank you to be here. If you look to data, and Rabobank is a data-driven bank, and data is the fuel for innovation here. So for us, the transition of a single data platform is extremely important. This will enable us also using new technologies like Gen AI, but also providing the right data to our consumers, to the regulator, and being more efficient is extremely important. And moving to a single data platform is also simplifying our whole data landscape as well.
Right. Well, we will circle back on that, right? Simplifying, is that the trick to go, right? One of the... Corey, welcome. Also already seasoned on both ends, right? So I know Oracle, SAP, for an example, but I also know ExxonMobil, Philips, Ministry of... what is it?
Awesome.
Yeah. We're going to explain later where you will end up by next month, so to speak, but your mindset around this topic.
My mindset around this topic, yeah, I think that everything we are even not aware is data and AI driven. So I think it's top of mind, although we do not experience it already.
All right, it's great. So single versus simplified, we are not aware. Then I got the academic point of view, Eric.
All right, would it be good to have the slide and to talk a little bit about that? Because I would like to share here something about my research, if that's okay.
Yeah, if you can pull up the slide already before we start. That's the slide of Eric. Can we manage that?
Because I really liked what you said about the simplification. Yeah, because I think if you do that, then that is very good, and that's a good foundation to really create value. And what I would like to share here with you is some research that I'm currently conducting. And we're looking into how can we govern AI, because we need to seek for the value. And there are a couple of points which I think is important if we're talking about the AI governance. First of all, yeah, you have the creation of value, but that also means that you need to prioritize. You cannot do it all. So prioritize the opportunities that you have in AI, then you're going to create value. That's an important part of AI governance. Also, you need to do AI governance from a perspective of protection, not only your data, but also your models. Two different things related to each other, but very, very important. That's about intellectual property, but also about compliance. We need to think about that. And then, obviously, very important, we need to make sure that the models are doing the right things. They should not be biased, they shouldn't be unethical, there should not be unwanted outcomes. And that means that we need to focus on quality, on model, on data quality, and that is important. And in order to do that, we developed a framework where we said in the research, okay, good, what are the 5 governance mechanisms? Having a steering committee, but also having a good foundation. That's what we called hygiene, meaning stakeholder management. AI is business, supported by technology. But also in terms of the ownership. The model and the data need to be owned by the business and facilitated by the chief data officer, facilitated by IT. And then you need also to bring up the organization to speed in terms of making sure that you're doing the right things, audit and impact assessments, and on top of that also bringing your staff to the next level. And then we can have the benefits we think we're sharing. That would be my 30 seconds and a bit more take.
Yeah, that's not a 30 seconds.
Okay.
But I will tell you later how 30 seconds works. But just kidding. Love the setting the scene already. Thanks, Eric. Bringing that directly back to you, Leo. If you talk about the dynamics within the Rabobank today, right, versus the discussion we have. So where are you? Where's the Rabobank? Where are you?
Dilemmas are currently, of course, the regulation. We are in a heavy regulated landscape. We have many regulatory obligations, of course, but we're also in the middle of the transition of moving to a single-based, single data platform. At the same time, moving to the cloud, and also making it be more efficient, and enabling new technologies, bring us further in our journey.
Yeah. So if you talk about that transformation also from terms of cloud, so often said as a traditional lift and shift, right? But you also now are in digitizing in your operating models and in your business models at this stage, right?
And this is not just a lift and shift.
Right.
So we are really enabling new technologies, changing the business as well, being more productive, enabling new technologies. Just lift and shift to the cloud is not helping us anymore.
Right.
So we really make a really big change here.
Right. It's great that you mention it, because we are, I think, in that quality discussion about a lot of transformations in regards to how lifts and shifts are positioned, right? But let us see Rabobank.
Welkom bij de bank zonder aandeelhouders, maar met leden. Die vertellen ons wat er leeft. Zo wil zij de eerste statiegeldmiljonair worden.
Cash money.
Vraagt hij zich af wie de zaak straks overneemt.
Sorry, pap.
En hopen deze twee dat hun zoon eindelijk een eigen stek vindt.
Een beetje krap.
Zo zijn onze leden onze voelspieren. en praten ze mee over waar we kennis, tijd en geld in steken. Dat maakt de coöperatieve Rabobank onze bank.
Great. These kind of mood videos always give you an anchor to have these great discussions. You're moving up as a Rabobank much more to, let's say, that customer journeys also, right? And if I take that in conjunction with the discussion about the data and AI platforms, the innovation versus also that operational excellence, and we will discuss operational excellence later on. So how fast can you go within those dynamics today, right?
Well, you have noticed cooperative bank, so collaboration is in our DNA. And that's the challenge that we have here is speed versus compliances we have. So that's the balancing act that we have to do. And we envision to making smaller steps, making this transition to the cloud and bringing this to a platform, but also bringing values early on. So we have to continue our value delivery and be secure during this transition.
You need to do it parallel, otherwise it will take too long, I guess, right? Yeah. Is that a discussion you often see, Herman, with also your customers, that you need to make a choice, and that choice is often parallel?
That's right. I think, and I think Leo really made a very important point. I think there are a lot of dilemmas, if I can use that word. So, for example, it is the speed of innovation versus governance, right? How fast you want to innovate versus, but at the same time it has to be governed. Lift and shift versus do you want to redesign or re-engineer or reimagine, modernize your technology. But then at the same time, there is an uncertainty in the kind of ROI, which because of the changing nature of technology, right? So these are all the various dilemmas which our customers face. And what we are doing with our customers is to help them make these kind of decisions. For example, buy versus build, right? What you should buy versus what you should build, because again, there are pros and cons of both the approaches. And also really prioritizing initiatives which are able to deliver quick business value, because once you deliver business value, you can prove the business case. And once you prove the business case, you are able to get approval for long-term investments.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the problem can be that we are stuck in a kind of a time area that we do a lot of MVPing, a lot of POCing, but we don't get it in production, right?
Yes.
You're an expert on that. And before we go talk about a little bit more in depth later on about leadership also, you have a ton of wisdom, I guess, right? In regards of how do you do this parallel versus, you've seen this, right? A lot of MVPing, but not getting it in production, right?
Yeah. There are maybe most of the time there are maybe even hundreds of projects I can imagine in your organizations, and only a few of them are really successful. In one of my former roles, I had this case. We had a lot of projects, very huge projects, very important projects, but they were not successful. They were either not finished or IT was taking their role and the business was taking their role, but not jointly together. And when I arrived there, someone told me there's an elephant in the room. You need to be aware of that. And then I was really considering what was the case. And what I experienced is that people need to take ownership together and responsibility and agility, so agile working, and prioritize. So I gave this elephant a name. Her name is Eva in Dutch. It's eigenaarschap, verantwoordelijkheid, agility and afmaken. We call her Oprah in English. It's ownership, priority, responsibility and agility. But when you make people aware of ownership and responsibility, and they start doing that in an agile way, you can become much more responsible. And I can imagine, especially also in the Rabobank, I know that they work very agile. Transforming to agile is still for a lot of companies a big change.
Right. I love the pink elephant, and we will elaborate a little bit later on in regards to the topic of leadership. But Erik is going back to that discussion, parallel versus do we need to practice, or do we need to have the discussion much more firmly about try and buy versus build and buy, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think a couple of things here. I think in that buy or build, if you are buying, you can speed up far more fastly. If you're thinking about simplifying building blocks, that will help and will help you to build a good foundation. But a good foundation is not good enough because you want to create value. So if we're all using the same building blocks, then creating value becomes much more difficult. So you need to decide as an organization, how am I going to use tech? Where am I really going to differentiate my organization from my competitors in terms to really create that value? Hey, what is it what I want to do for my customers? And that's also why I said in the context of AI governance, but it should be far broader than that, prioritization is key. Because then you're doing the right things. Yes. And I think that will help you to push forward.
Right. And in what times of dilemmas are you then, Leo, if you take that remarks from Erik, but also in the context of innovation versus that operational excellence, right? It's constantly a balancing act, I guess, right?
Always.
So what are then for you the top one or two where you would say, no, we need to go now, right? Or we need to have that discussion about that operational excellence a little bit less, or we need to do a little bit more here. So how do you manage that, Leo?
Well, first of all, from a technology point of view, you have to prevent that it is just a technology upgrade. Yes. You really have to make the connection to the business. And that's, I think, one of the challenges of our tech leaders right now. You have to speak all languages and be fluent in the business and in the technology skills. And they are making the right connections, prioritize business value in a very early stage. That's the key for success. And at the same time, managing all the relationships that are to bring this value on the table. That's what we're aiming for.
Right. And does it help then in terms of the discussion you earlier that you need to simplify, right? I know Philips did a great exercise about simplify, but is that the way to go? So do you need to break it down and simplify it, or is that too easy?
No, I think in my view, technology at the end of the day, I think just maybe reflecting on what Leo said, I think the technology leaders of today need to be bilingual, right? It is both. You need to be technology, but at the same time speak the business language, because you need to bring both of these together. The other thing is experiment, fail fast, but then scale what works, right? And all of this, I think if I have to put it into at the end of the day, the technology has to result in simplification, not only for technology, but also in terms of the business processes, in terms of the customer experience, in terms of, the value which we are able to deliver. Because in my experience in the last 25 years, if you are not simplifying, there is a lot of, technology and technical debt you will keep on building, which in future will arrest your, transformation and the speed of innovation.
Yeah, but in that case, it's often also said that besides technical debt, we got a huge different problems. That's people debt, process debt, yes. Maybe even supplier debt, right? Yep. Leo?
Yeah, multiple challenges because we have a lot of systems with data. So that we have to, if I speak about simplification, is also decommissioning legacy systems. At the same time, improving data quality. So we have to improve our data that we bring to our consumers. And bring this in a balance where we continuously bringing value on a day-to-day basis. That's the key.
Right. So if I talk to that, Erik, is that a logical way to first do simplify or decomplex, right? Versus, before we do that, we are -1 and going to 0, but in the time will lead that we are -half anyhow after 2-3 years. So we need to go bigger steps.
An organization can only go the length of the step as they are capable to. And so that's where you need the people aspect, just to make sure that you can drive with the capabilities that you have in-house, combined with the capabilities that you get in from partners, and that's how you can increase speed. And having that balance, I would say if you go too fast, then you brake. If you go too slow, then you've been overtaken. And I think if we look to that type of a way, then we really understand that we need to work on the capability side, on the people side, and then we can make it work. And then we need to do a lot of other things, and these are related to stakeholder management, to tech. But if we have that in check, if we know where we want to go, and if we have the right people with the right profile and the right partners,
Right.
then I think you can be successful. And that's what I'm hearing you in terms of working on your roadmap. That's how I translate to what you were saying. You got the complexity of the legislation and all the compliance thing. Good luck with that. But in essence, it's people.
Yes.
Right. And what does that mean if you look to that discussion, Corey? We see the discussion on competences and capabilities is growing like grass, so to speak, right? So fast.
Yeah, I think in the most branches and in most markets, there's a shortage of talented people. And I also agree with what Leo was telling, that legacy is mainly for a lot of companies the reason why they can't go that fast, because they have so much legacy. And if you ask most of the companies which is their most important application, it's a pity, but very often it's one of the big legacy systems. So if you really want to go into a huge digital transformation, you should not only think about your talent and your people, but also take the opportunity to say goodbye to legacy systems.
Right. But if you then look to that discussion, Hama, do we see different approaches of doing, let's say, changing that legacy systems into not only from a point of view lift and shift there, but do we see different approaches also that you would say, hey, this is interesting because now it's going faster, or more faster, or more composed about getting that tie much more to the business outcomes, right?
Right. Reflecting on your question, in my mind, I think there is no one size fits all approach, right? I think sometimes it is you simplify your existing environment in terms of legacy, in terms of technical debt, and then modernize. Sometimes it is you say that, okay, because my legacy and technical debt is so much, I cannot wait for it to be simplified. So what I will do is I will create a parallel path where I will create a completely new digital path, digital organization, and once this is up and running, I will retire everything from a legacy perspective, right? Then there are some organizations which are doing a hybrid approach as well, right? That I will keep some part of legacy because it is still delivering value to me. Because I think in my mind sometimes legacy can be, heritage. If I can use the word heritage, or it does deliver value, right? It's not that everything legacy is bad. So if it is delivering value, they continue to keep it. But then they create another path, and then they are able to use now technologies such as again maybe. Using the word, maybe agentic AI and all, to be able to rewire and reimagine processes, modernize technology, deliver, new experiences which were not possible so far. And that's what makes me really feel excited in the times which we are in right now, because a lot of the things which were not possible earlier, I think we are able to do it now.
Right. And so how difficult is that, Erik, to figure out those different journeys, right? So you have different starting points and different ambitions and objectives, so to speak, right?
Yeah, so what for me worked in the past very well is if you at least know where you are. So the technical depth measurement, that's important, that you know how deep you are. You need to know what is the gap that you need to bridge. There's tooling for that, use that, and then you can see, okay, good, this is what I now need to do in terms of a path, either to fix first or just to move ahead. And that will help you in, again, the prioritization, because to me, that remains key in anything what you do. And if I'm looking still today, 2025, to organizations, I see too little of measuring technical depth. And that makes in decision-making, business decisions, because for me it's a business decision where I'm going to invest in, what IT needs to do, that's what is key. And that's still lacking.
Yeah, why is that? So you see a lot of assessments going on, for example, regarding digital maturity, right?
Yeah.
But this legacy discussion, is it a shame, or is that where lies that
it's not sexy. Sorry.
It's not, okay.
Yeah. Hey, if we can talk about new and business models, hey, we're getting all excited. But again, if we don't have the foundation,
Yeah.
we're never going to create value.
Exactly.
But, sorry. But
I need to bring this back on the table because you also see a different, let's say, movement going on. Is that the movement of that a lot of CEOs of a lot of organizations are now taking that approach of data-centric, right? And that means then we're now going for data-centric, so that means that processes and applications are second and third. So we need to figure out how we really are going a data-centric organization. Is that a way to go for you guys as Rabobank?
Well, we are already a data-driven bank, so data is already key for all our decisions, our credit models, and how we plan our future as well. So, of course we are, but I would like to reflect also on your earlier question on legacy, because we have a very clear roadmap for decommissioning legacy systems. And of course that is a difficult roadmap, but I think the trick here is bringing early value stages in the transition that you are doing.
Exactly.
So that will bring the consumers of the legacy systems to our new data platform. And to a point that they actually ask when they can go to a new data platform.
Adoption.
I think that's the main trick to manage this very complex transitions with many decommissioning systems, but also value the data that we have in the bank.
Yeah. And the next problem is then adoption.
Adoption, yeah. Yeah, people, yeah, if you have a new environment, people need to like to work with it. If you are enthusiastic about a new application and everyone is really passionate, then it's of course an easy thing. But what I see is that business, most of the time, they really love the legacy. And there's a huge change process to go. And take care that the adoption in the business is there. Most of the time, IT is already adopting it, and then you need to have the business on your side. So I think the most important is still adoption, and sometimes we forget.
I need to circle back to Eric because I saw a grin on a smile in terms of we love legacy, right?
Yeah, because hey, we need ourselves to ask ourselves the question, hey, why is that response coming from the business? The business is not interested in tech. We hope all that they do, but they're not interested. And that is why, in terms of change, I like what you said in terms of basically inviting them to the new environment and making them enthusiastic. Then you get the change that you need to bring it forward. And that's where, the two worlds maybe need to do a little bit more in terms of bringing things together. And that's the one language thing in terms of what we talked about before. If we're able to do that, then we're going to make that a progression. And I'm not sure with all of us, but I think a lot of people still have a mortgage on their house. That's not a problem. But if the mortgage is too high, then we have a problem. And that's what you need to manage. And that's how you gradually can improve, create value.
Yeah, but is or could, let's say, the whole discussion about business outcome be that driver? Because then suddenly now it's also a big topic on the board. So not only that digital growth versus resilience, but also how can we do everything we do in the context of business outcome, right? Driving the business outcome.
Yeah. But driving the business outcome is for me the new adding value. So for me there is not much more than that. That basically is your right to exist, let's work on that, and let's work on that together.
But that's difficult. So how are there discussions going on with a couple of your customers in this field, Hema? Do they understand that they need to change not only the operating model, not only the business model, but also the organization model? That you need to work on those three elements.
For sure, I think, and I think reflecting on everything what was mentioned over here, very importantly, in my view, in all of these journeys, I think tech is just maybe 50% of the problem or 40% of the problem. The remaining 40 to 50% is all about people, right? How do you break the resistance to change? Because change brings an element of uncertainty. It brings an element of risk. Are you reflecting on what Leo said? How are you able to bring them along in that journey? And how I think business outcomes very importantly, but showing a slice of that business outcomes very quickly, because then it becomes tangible, right? Otherwise, everything is slide, right? You can show really great things on slide, but when people start seeing, okay, and the other part is sometimes we aggregate the business value, right? I think it is very important that business value is also translated in terms of sometimes the personas which are there in an organization, different personas, right? So how does it make my life easier because otherwise, why should I change from legacy perspective? There is no incentive for me to change, right? I think so. I think those are the things, the change management, the skilling, reskilling part of, things, and not only just from an IT perspective, but from a business perspective as well. Making sure they see the value of change, they see it very quickly. Those are the things which will, which make these kind of journeys successful. And only then adoption sticks, right? I think, again, as Corey mentioned as well.
Right. Yeah, it's great to see. You see a lot of discussions going on today, Leo, that people are talking to me, said, I'm seducing them again, right? So not inviting them to the platform, but that perspective. So how is that with you? So how do you that from a leadership point of view do that?
Different points here. You have to create an attractive technology platforms, but also managing a transition where you deliver business value in early stages.
Yes.
That's extremely important. Technology that enable new capabilities, and speaking about Gen AI for the future, you need a very good and stable data platform, and bringing those value early on also to the business users.
Right.
That will drive this transition.
Right. Yeah, it's great to hear. So if I look back, Eric, so did we miss a point here?
No, I think what I liked about the discussion that we touched a couple of angles and were quite aligned, which is quite rare in this type of settings. But that gives me the perspective that we're, in terms of maturity, growing. Because that alignment in terms of this is what needs to be done is super important. And that's also, I think, the alignment that you need to look for from a business perspective, but also from a technology perspective, to do that transition and to successfully create that value for organizations.
Well, at least, Corey, you have been successful in doing those kind of alignments. You recently won by CEO Magazine Most Innovative Leader Award. So we got a picture of that, I guess, right? Explaining there, just that question here is, you talked about adoption, but you also talked about that alignment, about innovation should not be at such, right?
Yes, I think if you... and I know Rabobank is doing that, and a lot of companies are already doing that, but I think that agile working is very important, so that the product owner is someone of the business and not someone of IT. I think this cooperation is very important, and that makes projects successful. That by having the ownership at the right person at the right part of the organization. I think if you leave that to IT, what we did in earlier stage, we learned from that, and I hope that everyone is embracing that, and that we are really working agile nowadays.
You conceptualize that, so to speak, or productize it, so to speak, with our pink elephant methodology behind it. Great. We had that cliffhanger.
Yes.
We got an announcement to do. You will be the new CEO of?
De TU Eindhoven.
Right. Congratulations. And they could use a strong lady like yourself. Besides the fact that Martin, the CISO, is just left to another. He's going to Van der Lande, I understood. So you can bounce back also on the cybersecurity guest there, I guess. But congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Right. I need to circle back then in terms of there's do or don'ts if we really want to fasten that discussion about that. data-driven or data-first or data-centric, but in that discussion of innovation versus operational excellence, right? Because I guess it's not a versus, it should be an integrated, right? And I think that's one of the essence we hear. What are your do's or don'ts for your customers, so to speak, and the famous 10 seconds? What should it do or don't?
Yep. So I think, and that's the reason I said maybe there is a bit of old and bit of new, because I think the bit of old, which everybody tends to forget, is data. All of this we are going to be creating on the foundation of data. So please do not forget about data quality, because this is where you will, if things are going wrong, they will massively go wrong in this data layer. The second aspect is use platforms as far as possible, because they are able to unify experiences and deliver consistent developer experiences, and also they allow developers to focus on business value rather than the plumbing aspects of a platform. The third is create, use AI, automation, generative AI, and now agentic AI. Already start thinking about it, how you wire and rewire it in your existing ecosystem. And the last one I would say is make sure that whatever you are building is modular in nature, because if it is modular, you can plug and play and make changes on the go, because with the pace of technology. Last but not the least, don't forget about creating agile operating models and the entire aspect around data and AI literacy.
You got a 5-step approach here, right? yeah, I got it, Amma. Your pearls of wisdom, Eric.
Yeah, so when I would like to say in terms of circling back, I would like to circle back to the mid-90s. I did there my research work in collaboration. Collaboration is key. At that time, I studied collaboration with partners, still key, but I think we conclude here collectively that internal collaboration, business and IT, that's key, whatever technology is there.
Right. Leo, your pearls of wisdom to your peers.
Yeah, all right. So managing transformations and showing leadership, I think is showing empathy to everyone, but also managing relations, extremely important. And I think it's already on the table, but adaptive, showing agility, adapting to change.
That's a great one. Last but not least, your finest pearls of wisdom, Corey. So what should your CEO peers not do?
Not
yeah, the do is too easy for you. The not do.
Not embrace. I think, to be honest, I agree with what Leo said. So empathy, that's very important. So not being empathic, that is really working against you.
Right. And that's hard with that black and white, 0 1s, often blood, missing a little bit of the warmth, so to speak. Right? No, they're just kidding. You want to reflect on that, right?
No, not really, because I fully agree to that. If you're looking to what strong leaders are, empathy is there. Just being a real person, being showing a genuine interest and a genuine interest in your people and in the organization topic. So nothing to add for me.
Yeah, I love the discussion about that, and we need to take that to another discussion. I guess that it's all about people's business. It's all about our people to getting things done. But within technology, we could have some stronger people leadership, I guess, right, in the end. Maybe those are some provoking words here, right? I thank you for the discussion today. Thank you very much. I love your different insights. I love also that we conclude that we are in generally agree, so we can take it to the next step. Okay. Do I have to mention something else at this stage? No, I don't have to mention it. So later.
Data is changing faster than ever, and so are the challenges to deliver value and grow your business with legacy data systems. We at Cognizant can help you transform your data foundation with smart cloud adoption and unlock its real value through data and BI modernization. It's made possible with Cognizant Ignition, a multi-agentic AI platform that modernizes your data, BI, and analytics with accuracy, consistency, and agility in a cost-effective way. It's modular, interoperable, scalable, multi-cloud, and low-code, no-code at its core. It's widely recognized by our partners and industry. Leveraging its Copilot, virtual assistant, and multi-agentic solution, the platform enhances automation efficiency and enables numerous agents to collaborate on solving complex problems. It comes with 5 product suites that cover the entire data value chain. Discovery and Assessment Suite, to assess data landscape and develop cloud migration strategy. Intelligent Migration Suite, to migrate and modernize data, processes and reports. Data Integration Suite, to automate and transform data ingestion and integration. Quality and Validation Suite, to automate the process of data quality assurance and validation. Analytics and Optimization Suite, for real-time insights and optimized data operations. The platform facilitates the transition from legacy sources to cloud-native targets. It has helped businesses across industries to achieve transformational business outcomes. Don't let your data sit idle, let it lead and drive your growth with Cognizant Ignition.